Something shifted in you recently, didn't it? Not one of those surface level changes where you reorganize your room or decide to eat healthier for a week. I'm talking about something deeper, something that's been building underneath everything else, like a current you couldn't see but could definitely feel pulling you somewhere new. You probably can't even pinpoint when it started. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago when you caught yourself staring out the window during a conversation that used to matter to you. Maybe it was last month when you realized you'd been going through the motions of your routine without actually being present for any of it. Or maybe it's been happening so gradually that you're just now noticing the person looking back at you in the mirror feels like a stranger. But here's what I know for certain. The fact that you're here right now, watching this video at this exact moment, isn't random. You didn't accidentally stumble across this because YouTube's algorithm got bored. You're here because something inside you recognizes what's happening. You're standing at the edge of something you can't quite name yet, and part of you is terrified while another part is more excited than you've been in years. The truth is, you've been preparing for this moment longer than you realize. Every time you felt that restless energy and couldn't explain why. Every moment when you looked around at your life and thought, this can't be all there is. Every instance when you felt like you were meant for something bigger, but couldn't articulate what that something was. All of that was your system getting ready for what's coming next. Most people spend their entire lives in the same phase, recycling the same patterns, having the same conversations, making the same choices, wondering why nothing ever really changes. They get comfortable with familiar discomfort because at least they know what to expect. They build elaborate justifications for why their life has to look exactly the way it does. They become experts at managing their limitations instead of transcending them. But you're different. You've been sensing that the walls you built to keep you safe have started feeling more like a prison. The identity you've been carrying around like a security blanket is starting to feel heavy and restrictive. The stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what's possible for you are beginning to sound hollow, even to your own ears. This is what happens right before a phase shift. Everything familiar starts feeling foreign. Everything that used to provide comfort starts feeling suffocating. Everything you thought you wanted starts losing its appeal because you're beginning to tune into a frequency that's completely different from where you've been operating. And let me tell you what nobody prepares you for about this moment. It's lonely, not because you don't have people around you, but because you're starting to see things they can't see yet. You're beginning to understand things that don't translate into normal conversation. You're developing a sensitivity to energy and truth that makes small talk feel like torture. Your tolerance for anything that isn't authentic is dropping to zero. Those relationships that were built on shared complaints rather than shared growth are starting to feel draining. Those activities you used to do to kill time are now making you feel like you're actually killing something precious. Those goals you've been chasing are starting to feel like someone else's dreams that you accidentally picked up and carried as your own. This phase, this in-between space where you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming, it's designed to feel uncomfortable. It has to feel uncomfortable because comfort is what keeps people stuck in phases that no longer serve them. Discomfort is the universe's way of saying it's time to level up, time to shed the skin that's become too small. But here's where most people make a crucial mistake. They feel this discomfort and immediately try to fix it. They think something's wrong with them. They rush back to familiar patterns, familiar people, familiar ways of thinking, because at least those feel predictable. They convince themselves that the restlessness was just a phase, that they should be grateful for what they have, that wanting more is somehow selfish or unrealistic. What they don't understand is that this discomfort isn't a problem to be solved. It's a signal to be honored. It's your inner guidance system telling you that you've outgrown your current operating system and it's time for an upgrade. It's life itself nudging you toward your next level of evolution. Think about every major transition you've ever been through: starting school, leaving home, beginning a new relationship, changing careers. Right before each of those shifts, There was always a period where the old way of being stopped working, but the new way hadn't fully emerged yet. You felt suspended between worlds, not quite belonging anywhere. That's exactly where you are right now, except this time it's different. This isn't just a change in external circumstances. This is a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your place in the world. This is about stepping into a version of yourself that's been waiting patiently in the wings, ready to take center stage when you finally gave them permission. The signs have been everywhere if you've been paying attention. Synchronicities that feel too meaningful to be coincidence. Conversations that seem to address exactly what you've been thinking about. Books, videos, and opportunities showing up right when you needed them most. People entering your life who speak a language you didn't even know you were learning. Your intuition has been getting stronger, hasn't it? Those gut feelings you used to second guess are becoming impossible to ignore. That inner voice that used to whisper is starting to speak with more authority. You're beginning to trust yourself in ways you never have before, not because you have all the answers, but because you're finally willing to find them. And here's what's really happening underneath all of this surface level change. You're remembering something you forgot a long time ago. You're reconnecting with a part of yourself that got buried under years of other people's expectations, society's programming, and your own fears about what would happen if you actually showed up as who you really are. This remembering isn't happening through your mind, it's happening through your body, through your energy, through parts of you that don't speak in words, but communicate in feelings and knowing. You've probably noticed that certain environments feel different to you now. Spaces that used to energize you might feel heavy or stagnant. Places you never paid attention to before might suddenly feel like sanctuaries. Your relationship with time is shifting too. You're less willing to spend it on things that don't feed your soul, even if you can't fully explain what your soul is hungry for yet. You're becoming protective of your energy in ways you never were before, not because you're being selfish, but because you're finally understanding that your energy is sacred and finite. Sleep patterns changing, dreams becoming more vivid or strange, waking up at odd hours, feeling like you've been somewhere important but can't quite remember where. Your consciousness is expanding, and that expansion doesn't happen on a 9-to-5 schedule. It happens in its own rhythm, according to laws that don't follow the logic of the everyday world. You might find yourself drawn to things you never cared about before. Maybe it's spending time in nature, or learning about subjects that have nothing to do with your career, or feeling pulled toward creative expression, even if you've never considered yourself creative. These aren't random interests. They're breadcrumbs leading you toward aspects of yourself that are ready to be integrated. The people in your life are probably noticing changes in you, even if they can't name what's different. Some might comment that you seem more distant or distracted. Others might say you seem calmer or more centered. A few might express concern that you're changing too much, too fast. But here's what they don't understand and what you're just beginning to grasp. You're not changing, you're becoming. There's a massive difference between those two processes. Change implies that you're altering something that already exists. Becoming is about allowing something that's always been there to finally emerge. It's not about adding new parts to yourself. It's about removing the layers that have been hiding your authentic nature. This is why the process feels both terrifying and completely natural at the same time. Part of you is scared because you don't know where this path leads. You can't see the destination, you don't have a map, and everyone around you seems to be traveling in different directions. But another part of you recognizes this journey as the most honest thing you've ever done. Your old coping mechanisms aren't working anymore, are they? The things you used to do to numb out or distract yourself from difficult emotions are losing their effectiveness. It's not that you lack willpower. It's that your system is rejecting anything that takes you away from this process of becoming. Your inner wisdom has decided it's time to feel everything, to be present for everything, to stop hiding from the fullness of your own experience. Money, success, relationships, all the external markers you use to measure your worth against are starting to feel less important. Not because you don't care about having a good life, but because your definition of what makes a life good is fundamentally shifting. You're beginning to value things that can't be photographed or posted or measured by anyone else's standards. Peace is becoming more important than excitement. Authenticity is becoming more valuable than approval. Truth is becoming more attractive than comfort. These aren't philosophical concepts anymore. They're lived experiences that are reshaping how you move through the world. And here's something that might surprise you. The next phase you're moving toward isn't about achieving something external. It's not about finally getting the perfect job or relationship or living situation. Those things might come, and they might be wonderful, but they're not the point. The point is about coming home to yourself so completely that external circumstances become secondary to your internal state of being. You're preparing to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. Instead of looking to your environment to tell you how to feel, you're developing the capacity to bring your own energy to whatever environment you find yourself in. Instead of depending on others to validate your worth, you're cultivating an unshakable knowing of your own value that doesn't need external confirmation. This is why everything feels so uncertain right now. You're learning to trust something that can't be proven, to follow guidance that doesn't come with guarantees, to believe in possibilities that don't have precedent in your personal history. You're being asked to have faith not in some abstract concept, but in yourself and in a process that's bigger than your individual will. The next phase isn't something you're going to force or manufacture through effort and strategy. It's something you're going to allow by continuing to release what no longer serves you and staying open to what wants to emerge. It's already in motion. It's already begun. You found this video right before it fully arrives because you needed this confirmation that what you're experiencing isn't random or meaningless. So here you are, right at the threshold, feeling everything I've described because you've been chosen to walk this path. Not chosen by some external force, but chosen by the deepest part of yourself that's finally ready to stop hiding and start living. The restlessness you've been feeling isn't a problem to solve. The discomfort isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. The uncertainty isn't evidence that you should turn back. It's all confirmation that you're exactly where you need to be. You've outgrown who you were, and you're about to step into who you're becoming. The fact that you recognize yourself in these words means the shift is already happening. You don't have to force it or figure it out or make it happen faster. You just have to trust it. Your next phase is waiting. It's been waiting patiently while you gathered the courage to leave behind everything that was keeping you small. And now that you're ready, now that you found this right before everything changes, there's only one thing left to do. Stop looking back and start walking forward, because the person you're becoming has been waiting long enough, and it's finally time to meet them. If this resonated with you, if you felt the truth of what we've explored here, then you know what I know. Your moment is now. The next phase begins the moment you decide it does.